Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Michael A. Grimm, aka Multi-Voice Reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. And today, this is the one you all been waiting for. I've been dying to do this review, and now is the time to do it. And today is Asian Month. Not Asian. Sorry. Today is Marvel-thon. Today on Marvel-thon, I wanted to tell you something, folks. When I first saw this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, I gotta say that it is the best sci-fi, Marvel, comic-based superhero movie I've ever seen. And I thought there would be nothing that would top that. And also, one thing I also thought to myself, is there a Marvel version of a strong female heroine, or should I say female superhero, who has superpowers and kicks some butt? I remember that DC has Wonder Woman, and the only Marvel superhero that they made is, of course, Black Widow. But one thing I know about Black Widow is she has no superpowers. She's just a former KGB agent who now defected and start working with S.H.I.E.L.D. and becomes a spy-like superhero. Female spy-like superhero. And kudos for Scarlett Johansson, the hottie but crazy actress who have her own solo movie now. And then they decided to make something that I was pretty surprised about. They decided to create this movie, Captain Marvel. And one thing I gotta say, the first time I saw this movie, I was like, what the heck are they complaining about? This is awesome! They finally created a super-powered female superhero who could pretty much rival with Wonder Woman. Who'd have thunk it? And I've been waiting to do a review about this, and wanting to see the movie for a long time until my aunt gave me this DVD collection and finally saw the movie. My grandma and I saw it, and I gotta say, it was awesome! I don't care what other people say. They say it's the actress Brie Larson who plays Carol Danvers, who is Captain Marvel. They say her attitude pretty much wrecked the movie. I remember back then on IMDb, the score on IMDb was 6.1, but now it's 6.9. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it was 83% fresh. But now they said it's 78 now. 78% fresh. The movie was good. I don't care what people say. I think Brie Larson did a terrific job playing Captain Marvel. I think she's good. And Brie Larson, if you're watching this, good work. Now, one thing I also discovered about this movie is that they did a bit of a backstory on Nick Fury. Now, one thing I know about Nick Fury is this. Nick Fury was created by this rock star comic book artist and, comic book artist and writer, Jim Steranko, who did Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, one thing I know about Nick Fury is this. Time for me to hit the books. It started out as a comic book, World War II comic book called Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, which the Howling Commandos are in the Captain America movie. But one thing I know about Nick Fury is that ever since he was Nick Fury, Sergeant Nick Fury in the Howling Commandos, the comic book did pretty good until all of a sudden they have decided to expand Nick Fury and become a soldier, since most of the Nazis now become the terrorist organization called Hydra. Nick Fury who lost his eye during World War II, they decided to make him become the member of S.H.I.E.L.D. And on his story, what they did is they gave him a serum. It slows down his aging process, so he ain't going to age the same way like all the other World War II vets going to age. He's going to age really, really slow. And he become one of the most toughest and coolest secret agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just too bad that they recast Nick Fury from... Oh yeah, and one thing I also remembered, one thing that was close to the comics that I remembered, was this really cheesy TV movie they made called Nick Fury and the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., starring Baywatch and Knight Rider star himself, David Hasselhoff. Seriously? David Hasselhoff? Out of everybody in the world, they had to pick David Hasselhoff? The TV movie was... It was corny, but still a little entertaining, nonetheless. And that's what I know about Nick Fury. And hello there. Who are you? The name's Colonel Nick Fury. I'm the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Cannot believe that the MCU have me played by Samuel L. Jackson. But it could have been worse. They would have made that David Hasselhoff TV movie canon. But thank God for that. But I have a better idea. You know what idea I think it would be cool? What's that? Sorry, what is it, Colonel? How about what if Captain America becomes Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Hear me out. Like, I become Captain America, aka Steve Rogers, go through the super soldier serum that slows down my aging process. And then after the war was over, I heard that some of the Nazi members become Hydra. And, I decided to quit being Captain America and become the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. under a code name Nick Fury. What do you think of that, Captain? I say that's a good idea. But what about my buddy, Bucky? Bucky can be the next Captain America in this what-if version. Might be a good idea. Let's talk to the MCU, see if they like that idea. Come on, let's go. Right. Doing all the what-ifs, huh? Like what J. Jonah Jameson talk about what if J. Jonah Jameson was bitten by a radioactive spider. But enough with the Nick Fury legacy. They changed it where now Nick Fury is the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he's pretty much the same age. He doesn't go through World War II. He doesn't go through World War II. He's not a World War vet like Captain America. He's just a guy who started out as young Nick Fury, Agent Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D., who discovers Carol Danvers, and he loses his eye, which I'm going to explain in the movie. Which I gotta say, Nick Fury did a pretty good job playing Nick Fury. Despite the changes, they took the idea of Nick Fury as black because the Ultimate always kept imagining Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, so in the Ultimate comics, they made him black, bald, and look a lot like Nick Fury. Wouldn't that be interesting to hear Nick Fury saying this? Enough is enough! I've had it with these mother-loving Hydra in this mother-loving planet! I always like snakes in the plane. And he's right. Everybody love it when he always says that. That whole, I had it with the snakes in the plane. Anyway, enough about this. Let's get to Carol Danvers, shall we? Now, one thing I know about her is this. Sadly, this here is an old edition, and the only thing I know about Carol Danvers is this. Some would call her Miss Marvel, but in my encyclopedia book, they called her Warbird. And that's what she looked like before the red, white, and gold look. Attractive. But one thing I know about Carol Danvers is this, that she was a tough as nails girl. I mean, she was pushed on by many guys who think women cannot be firefighters. I mean, fighter pilots. You're just a girl. You can't do anything guys can do. And of course, that one stupid comment in the movie I heard that one guy said, "Do you ever know why they call it the cockpit?" Up yours, sir. But of course, that's Carol Danvers' past. Her father didn't want her to outrace her brothers in the in that little go-kart race, and of course she joins the. She went to boot camp, but pushed down by too many male soldiers. I mean, come on, we're in a new millennium. I've been seeing women who is a lot more tougher. I wish I was married to them. I'd rather be married to a tough girl than some damsel in distress, "Oh, I broke a nail," layabout. This is why I've always been more attracted to tough women, because I find them more interesting than women who would do nothing. Sheesh. This is why I don't care about those Transformer movies. Yeah, sure, Megan Fox is hot, but she can't act. She would have been replaced by a mannequin and nobody wouldn't even tell a difference. But anyway, back to the story. Yeah, and this is what she looks like in the comic, where she wears a sash. She still wears a sash, but the outfit still looks the same like the movie. But anyway, how the story goes is this. Another thing I forgot to mention. I know some of you will be thinking I'll be talking about Captain Marvel from DC, Shazam Captain Marvel, but I already did a video where I explained the difference between Shazam Captain Marvel and Carol Danvers Marvel. I already did the video about it, but I'll put a link down below so you guys can check it out and see what I'm talking about. But anyway, throughout the whole movie, it's this. Now, Carol Danvers, she always keeps having visions in her sleep, and she doesn't even remember what all these visions are. And of course, she meets, and of course, she is trained by Jude Law, who is playing Youngog. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep up with alien names. Anyway, he's supposed to be in charge of this group, this Kree group, who calls himself the Star Force. Now, one thing I know about the Kree is this. Now, these are the Kree, right here. These are these blue-skinned, dominating alien species who wants to conquer the entire galaxy. And one thing about these Kree is they're at war with these shape-shifting green-skinned aliens called the Skrulls. And they've been at war for a long, long time, that they're trying to hunt down and take them all out. Until Carol Danvers, which they called her Vers. They call her Vers because they didn't get her full name. They just found her destroyed name tag. That's why they call her Vers. But anyway, she talks to the super intelligent about her dreams, played by Annette Bening. And of course, she starts to remember that Annette Bening, the person that she keeps seeing in her past, she goes by the name of Dr. Wendy Lawson. Coincidence. But anyway, her and a group of other Star Force, there is a woman who goes by the name of Meneva. Minerva, played by Gemma Chan, Asian, Atlas, and Brunchar. They all start fighting the Kree until she gets kidnapped by the Kree people who kept downloading her memories, and she keeps figuring out why. And she battled against a whole bunch of Krees in that one ship that she took off in one of the pods and landed into the Blockbuster. And she also walked up to the security guard and said, "What place can I find some electronic stuff?" And he points to a Radio Shack. You know, that's one thing I like about this movie. It has a lot of 90s nostalgia. And I mean, a lot of a lot of 90s that I seem to remember when I was a kid. I mean, the Nine Inch Nails, the Nickelback, Blockbuster, Radio Shack, and Toys R Us. Damn. Those are the stores I do miss, you know. I do miss Blockbuster. I do miss Radio Shack because it had some pretty cool stuff there. And hate to say this, but I do miss Toys R Us. Because when I was a kid, I just loved going to Toys R Us. All because I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kids. Yeah, well, sadly we all had to grow up sometime. Anyway, let's get back to the thing, shall we? Anyway, when Carol Danvers landed into the Blockbuster, she shot one of her blasters out of her arm, and it pretty much blew the head out of a cardboard poster of Arnold Schwarzenegger from the movie True Lies. I guess he ain't telling her to put the cookie down. Anyway, she meets up with Samuel L. Jackson himself, Nick Fury, and of course Paul Colton, who are members of S.H.I.E.L.D. And at first, she said that she's one of the Kree soldiers and she's trying to stop the Skrulls, and they didn't believe her until one of the Skrulls starts firing at her, and she's in a high-speed pursuit, well, on-foot pursuit, with that Kree soldier. And that Kree not Kree, Skrulls. Sorry, I get Krees and Skrulls confused. But anyway, she come into the bus, and therefore he sees the late, great Stan Lee himself. Oh yeah, that's one thing I also had to mention. Captain Marvel was Stan Lee's last movie he ever appeared in before he passed away. So, Godspeed on legendary Stan Lee. But anyway, when Carol Danvers went to this train station where she was chasing that Kree over, she bumps into Stan Lee, who is reading a script, which is Mallrat. I have this movie on DVD, and I like the movie. And if any of you are going to be asking me, should I review this? In due time. I will. I mean, I'm not that keen on every Kevin Smith movie, but this here is really good because there's a character who reminds me so much of myself. Brody. You know, Jason Lee, he should appear in Deadpool. Give him a better role. I mean, I haven't seen him do any good roles since that god-awful Chipmunk movie. And I hate those Chipmunk movies. Anyway, back to the movie at hand. Colton, the real Colton, called, and Nick Fury discovered that the guy who thought he was Colton was one of the Skrulls, so he got into a car crash with him, and that Skrull died, so now Nick Fury starts to believe in Carol. And she was wondering, why is she not a Skrull? So she needed proof, so she shoot a laser out of her hands, And she's wondering why Nick Fury is not Skrull. And he answered all her questions and such. But there was an ultimate answer, the most ultimate thing. So Nick Fury says, when it comes to sandwiches, if the toast is cut diagonally, I won't eat it. So he won't eat sandwiches that are cut diagonally. He likes it. That is silly. Anyway, she's trying to pick up more to her... God, it's getting windy here. Anyway, she tries to pick up more on her history, and all of a sudden she found somebody that was supposed to be a part of her path. She was best friends to this woman who goes by the name of Marie Rumbu. And she also has a little daughter. Now, Marie is played by Lashana Lynch. Lashana Lynch. And, of course, she has a little daughter named Marcia, played by Akara Akbar, who, in the future, Marcia is going to be Spectrum. And for those of you who don't know what Spectrum is this. They call her Spectrum, but according to this encyclopedia, she's also called Photon. Now, one thing I know about her is that she's best friend with Carol Danvers, just like her mom. And also, she shares the same powers and abilities, just like Captain Marvel. So pretty much, her and Captain Marvel are like this. I wonder if that's going to be a part on part 2 of Captain Marvel, because I would have loved to see that little girl all grown up and all of a sudden have the same powers and abilities just like Carol Danvers. Anyway, back to the story, shall we? It turns out that all these Kree members lied to her. And also that one Skrull finally figured out that that one guy who is head of the of S.H.I.E.L.D., well, former head, named Keller, he was a Skrull in disguise all along, played by Ben Mendelsohn. Anyway, this Kree, he's here for peace. He doesn't want to fight. And of course, Carol Danvers came across a cat who goes by the name of Goose. Now, in the comic books, he's called Chewbacca, but actually he's called Goose, and he's not a cat, because this Skrull here goes by the name of Talos. Talos told him that he's a Flurkin. A Flurkin, they look like cats, but they have like tentacles coming out of their mouth. Kind of reminds me of John Carpenter, The Thing. And also discovers that Dr. Wendy Lawson, she's a Kree who goes by the name of Mar-Vell. Okay. Now, this one is called Captain Marvel, Protector of the Universe, right here. This is what he looks like. And one thing I know about him, that he was a Kree soldier who all of a sudden discovered that there's something very important about Earth. He was sent to Earth to destroy Earth, but he starts noticing that Earth, there's a lot of potential in that planet, so he decided not to destroy Earth. But other Krees disagree with him, so he stayed on Earth and become a protector of the universe. This is the original one. And in the comic books, this Captain Marvel, he died and passed the torch to Carol Danvers, and that's why she's called Captain Marvel. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe! Anyway, Urog decided to summon Ronan the Accuser. Oh gosh. The same bad guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. Although one thing I also discovered about Ronan the Accuser is this. Ronan the Accuser, right here, right there, kind of looks like Doctor Doom because he's green and his skin is kind of gray. But anyway, he was Ronan the Accuser, who is a judge, jury, and executioner for the Kree, until in the later comics he stopped becoming an executioner and started becoming good. But sadly, Guardians of the Galaxy just killed him off. That's MCU for you. One thing I also remember, this is what Captain Marvel really looked like in the comics. And that's what she was, and that's Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel, or Warbird. Until pass the torch to the Carol Danvers that we all know now. Anyway, she finds the ship that Marvel had, and she has all of her memories back now. She remembered she helped Marvel, fly this new ship with some engine power that it can make jets fly faster and also go right through space. But Jude Law, Youngrog, he showed up and start creating havoc and problems. He killed Marvel, and Marvel told Carol Danvers to destroy the engine. So Carol Danvers faces Jude Law, but aimed the gun at the engine and blasted, and the power from the engine got into her body, and that's why she has these photon powers through her fists and everything. So now she knows what she must do. She decided to help the Kree. Took him to a ship where it turns out to be Marvel's lab, where there are some remaining scrolls there. Help the scrolls, not the Kree. The scrolls. And found the remaining scroll people who are survivors. And they're trying to get them all the way to safety, but a group of Kree shows up. So now it becomes an all-out fight between Carol Danvers and of course the Space Force. And even there is this, and even that's why when she see that Kree woman, she says, "That's why you never joined me, is because you know about me." And she said, "No, the reason why I didn't join you is because I didn't like you." And of course, she dropped her weapon and picked up a Nerf gun. It's Nerf or nothing. I always love saying that. Anyway, she pretty much took down all the Kree soldiers and got the Skrulls to safety with the help of Nick Fury, Maria, and also Goose the cat, who also swallowed the Tesseract, which is the Infinity Stone of space. And then when she go one-on-one with Jude Law all the way to Earth, she found her full potential of her power, and now she can fly through the air. And Ronan the Accuser showed up, sent some of his ships over to her, but she took them all down one by one and stared at Ronan, going like, "If you ever try to attack Earth, I'm coming after you." And of course, Ronan the Accuser says, "Retreat, we will return." And one of his friends says, "For the Tesseract?" And he said, "No, for her." Because he thinks of her as a weapon. And also told young Gorg that he's sending them a message to the Kree, don't attack Earth, or she'll be there and she'll destroy them all one by one. And now she's helping the Skrulls find themselves a new home. And at the same time, there is an after-credit scene where it takes place after the Thanos snap on the Infinity War, where Nick Fury lost his communicator, sent a signal to Carol Danvers, and Carol showed up in front of Captain America and Scarlet Witch saying, "Where's Fury?" And also, there's another scene where Nick Fury's trying to find himself a fake glass eye for him to wear, and And now the cat kept acting like he's coughing up a hairball, but there's a Tesseract coming out of the Florka. And of course, Nick Fury, he looked at the jet, and there was a name to it. It says Carol Avenger Danvers. So that gave him an idea of the Avengers Initiative, because he's thinking about finding and rounding up some superpowered people who'll be able to defend Earth in case bigger threats involve. And that is Captain Marvel for you. So for those of you who enjoyed my review of Captain Marvel, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe for more reviews, and sorry it took a little long, but there was a lot I need to talk about. And next up, this is the one you all been waiting for. I've been saving the best for last, folks. My next review, I'm going to review the Avengers, but I'm going to make it into a two-parter. I'm going to talk about the Avengers, and then I'm going to talk about the Avengers and Age of Ultron, and then on the second part, it will be the Infinity War and Endgames. And I'll probably do some final thoughts about Marvel Phase 4 and Phase 5 after the Avengers. So, see you soon.